Well, Matt, it's a miserable day, pouring down with rain. Are you able to bring any cheer in terms of team news and players possibly back for the weekend?
Well, only Camille on the back of his suspension, so no other cheer or positivity in relation to the injury group, which I'm sure you're referring to. The only message is really is that they're getting closer, not close enough for this weekend, but we certainly hope to have some of them back training with us in some capacity next week.
That's good news. It's often a cliched expression in football, the long journey home after a defeat. What's the mood in the camp been like since Saturday in the game at Northampton?
Well, obviously, it was low on the back of the result, and certainly the first half performance. We didn't feel we did ourselves justice in relation to that, and gave ourselves too much to do in that second half. So frustration, disappointment, a little bit of soul searching in terms as to why, and we've had clear messages throughout this week to try and get what we want the team to look like for longer and more consistently across. That's a word we've spoke about and used several times this season, and something we're striving for. Hopefully we'll see that this weekend. Yeah,
maybe not having the game in the week's been a benefit. I mean, it's some rare time, a full week on the training ground.
Yeah, definitely. Those Saturday, Tuesdays take the toll. Not just in terms of the mental capacity and fatigue within the group, but certainly physically, even more so when the squad's a little bit stretched. You've probably seen that in terms of the numbers we've got unavailable at the moment. So, we're really pleased to have a full week's training and to welcome back Camille to the group who was there at the weekend. And then we're only one game away from Anthony coming back, and like I say, maybe a couple more starting to affect it.
So what do you want to see more of from your players starting on Saturday?
Well, I think we've got to understand what we want to look like as a football team, understand what best represents this football club and our supporters, and that's a little bit more intent to take anything of themselves and the game to the opposition, and put the opposition under pressure and ask them serious questions that if they're still good enough to beat us when we're putting them under pressure, that's no problem at all. We can hold our hands up and accept that, but we want to start playing front foot football and forcing the issue a little bit more than what I saw first half on Saturday. You need the capabilities to do that physically first and foremost, which is something we're aware of. But even if we start games in that manner, then at least we're in a better foothold in the game as opposed to constantly chasing the scoreline.
Yeah, and that's we always talk about identity. Is that what you want to see from Rovers long term, especially when you've got your own players?
Yeah, but I think that should be a given in any team, let alone a Rovers team. But I think that would reflect our fans fantastically well, and then you add the quality and your style and the route to goal and your defensive principles on top of that. I live in a world of intent, and my frustration on Saturday was in that first half I didn't see quite enough of it individually and collectively.
And how do you get that front foot football when the priority is also in defence? I know what the clean sheet at Exeter meant to you. How do you kind of get the best of both worlds?
Yeah, look, I need to give the players more licence to play like that, and not to worry about what's around them, behind them, what might happen. I want us to play the game where it is, which is right in front of us where the ball is. And like I say, if teams are able to play through us and around us from that point with real pressure, and I mean up against men, in those moments, then full credit. And I do think we'll have a better collective feeling about the way the team looks. Like I say, you need legs in the team, you need effort, you need real sort of tenacity to get there and make a difference, and then not to be beat. So, as much as I was disappointed with that first half performance last week, I knew we didn't have quite the right personnel to consistently play like that. And we might not have it this weekend, but we're certainly going to work towards it, and that can be our blueprint for everything else to follow.
So we may well see the players taking risks on Saturday, and we need the fans to be on board with that. And if it's not quite going, get on your back, not the players.
Everything's a calculated risk, but like I said, I just want them to affect the game more, certainly out of possession, and we know we are leaky, we know we are fragile defensively, so let's start affecting where that ball is, and putting players under pressure and not allowing them to make clean passes with no one within eye shot of them. So I think the message has been clear this week, and we've been practicing it this week and putting it into practice, so to speak, on the training pitch, but it's never the same as a game, because in a game your players off your shoulders and behind you really do matter, because they're the ones who can hurt you. So hopefully we'll find the right balance. That's what we'll be working towards for the rest of this season and even the start of next season. And as the bodies come back, I think there will be a better feeling that the team and the squad are capable of doing it for longer in games.
Yeah, and irrespective of how the rest of the season goes in terms of ambitions, it's important there's some jeopardy on games. There's not an end of season feel, because we're still only in February, aren't we?
Yeah, and still a lot of games to come, a lot to look forward to, a lot to play for individually and collectively. we know where we want this team to be close to finishing this season as high as we possibly can. And the players are playing for the shirts next week, and then obviously futures at the football club. It's pretty simple in terms of, I think everyone sees the end of this season as a bit of a rebuild in terms of the squad, because there's so many out of contract, and obviously loans will go back, and there's 6 of them. But I want the best opportunity and the first opportunity to go to those in the building. That's where you've got to look first and foremost, and I think some are capable of showing a little bit more.
And how hard or easy is it to not think too much about the summer and the rebuild when you've got so many games coming first?
Well, it's difficult because every game is a new challenge but a new opportunity as well. But we have to get the summer right. We need another few windows of the right people coming into this football club on top of the good ones who are already here. We can't forget that. So it's putting the right people in place to work towards that, and we feel we've certainly made the right decisions in the last few weeks to get those people there.
Amongst your many jobs, in terms of the loan players you brought in, how much time have you had to spend managing them on and off the pitch? Because it's been ups and downs, hasn't it, for the 3 lads that came in?
Yeah, Brendan had probably the best debut known, and then a few games later he picks up the hamstring injury, so he's gone back to Forest. He will come back to us in the next couple of weeks, so he does his first couple of weeks of his rehab there, but showed in that short space of time what a good addition he'll be to this football club, certainly for the remainder of this season, and the quicker we get him back the better. I think it's been a testing time for Elkin and Harry in terms of their first exposure, not just to lower league football but back to lower league football, coming from championship level, coming from a tournament elsewhere. It's been a little bit of a shock to the system, and you've probably seen it in terms of their performances, but they showed really good signs there. Their best game was the last game, both in the second half at Northampton, so hopefully they can take that on and take that forward into what's next.
And it's awkward on Saturday, isn't it? Because you've got nothing to gain, everything to lose against the Carlisle side, bottom of the league. I think 1 win in 17. How do you take on that challenge of the expectation of supporters that you should win on Saturday?
That's perception, but it's 3 points. It's a home game, it's a home win, a home clean sheet, just everything we want to look like as a team and a home performance. But we've been, like I say, we've been short of that in recent weeks, and if not the last month or so. So it's important we put that out there, and hopefully the result will follow. You say I hide into nothing, but 3 points is big. It's big numbers in terms of what you want to achieve, and where you want to get to, and the effect it'll have on the league table as well. And then it puts us into what we feel a good position going into another run of games, which is going to take its toll, but where there's just so much to play for. And if you start with a positive return in relation to those points, then that goes into what's next, and there's still lots to look forward to. I want people to still be excited about the remainder of this season, as opposed to I'm sure a lot of people, fans and players and staff alike, are just sort of waiting for what's to come next season and being excited about what might happen then, but there's still so much to play for this season.
And I say this with a bit of a smile on my face, but I imagine Paul Simpson's press conference is probably saying the same things as you. They lost 4-0 on Saturday. He'll be out for a reaction on Saturday.
Yeah, but in a slightly different position in terms of the league table. But I think probably 2 fragile teams in terms of just the shakiness within it. We've got to capitalise that and show no weakness and put our best out there. I don't think we'll be as fluid as we've been at times, certainly in terms of our attacking play, but I do expect to see a slightly different ethic and intent out of possession.